Hi, Mary Aldrich here, host of the Fruit Pursuit podcast and a life coach and relationship coach primarily with moms. And I am coming to you to encourage you today in your progress of having patience and encouraging you to ask for help. So, my short little message for you today is that I want to remind you to make clear requests of what you need from others while you're waiting and in this process of seeing needs to be met, need to be met, and not actually experiencing those needs to be met. You know, in the Bible, in Philippians chapter 4, let's see, I have it here. Verse 6, Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." I find this particularly interesting. I know it's a familiar verse to a lot of people to let your requests be made known to God, but I find it interesting that we see so clearly through scripture that God already knows what we need. He already knows what we want. He already knows what we need. Not only does he know those things, but he knows it to the smallest detail. He not only knows the smallest details, he knows the motivations behind it in our heart. And so he even knows how to adjust it based on what our motivations are. And he knows that if he gives it to us a certain way, that's not actually going to satisfy us. And he can even adjust what he does for us and how he answers based on what he knows we really need. And isn't it kind of something that happens in the Christian life where we're like, oh, I'm so glad God didn't give me the answer to the prayer like I was praying it. He did it so much better. And so he knows all of that. He's got it. And yet, isn't it interesting that he still tells us to ask? I think that this is an important thing to notice because when we start thinking about making our needs known to other people, it can be a slippery slope to start assuming that now that I've asked them, I shouldn't have to ask them anymore. They should have learned by now what I need. We've done this pattern long enough, they ought to know it by now. I don't understand what's wrong with them that they can't see the need that needs to be met. Isn't it obvious that it needs to be met? If it's so obvious to me that the need is there, why are they just not aware of it? They must not really care if they can't see that this thing needs to be done without me having to tell them. Isn't it interesting that we start to make all these judgments about other people not meeting needs when the God of the universe, who is fully aware of everything going on and knows how to perfectly meet all needs, still instructs us to ask? And so my encouragement to you is quit trying to figure out why other people are not intuitively jumping in and participating the way that you wanted them to participate, or why those kids keep walking over that sock in the floor, or why your husband can walk in the door and sit down and be completely unaware of all of the things around that need doing and how hard you've worked. Why is it that he can sit down and just zone it all out and be completely oblivious? Why can't he just notice what needs to be done and do it? Listen, that way of thinking is not going to help us. If the God of all the universe wants us to ask, then we can ask the other people in our lives that are not the God of the universe. We can humble ourselves and ask, and we don't have to make it about they weren't listening. We ask God again, and he's listening. We expect him to show up, and he knows already. We expect him to respond again over and over and over again. We come to him with the same requests over and over and over again, and we don't make it about, I don't know why he can't get it through his thick head that this needs to be done without me telling him to do it. We don't say that to him. So let's not say it to the other people in our lives. Let's humble ourselves, be willing to make requests of others while we're trying to be patient for things to change. It is part of patience. It's humility to ask for what we need. All right. And if you want more information about this, we have a whole training session around creative ways to get support when we're feeling overwhelmed or when we're feeling discouraged. You can go over to the link that I have in the description and jump onto our newsletter. And then when we're running our mastermind, you can apply to work to be a part of that. So click the link in the description if you're interested in knowing more about how to get resources for asking for help on a regular basis, as well as a whole host of other things that we teach in our Fruit Pursuit Mastermind. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.